Most companies change how we spend our money, but very few companies actually change how we live our lives. Imagine a world where you don't own a car, where your city doesn't have parking lots, where the very concept of transportation is an invisible utility, just like water or electricity. This was the dream, or the nightmare, that started on a cold, snowy night in Paris in 2008. Two entrepreneurs were shivering on a curb, unable to find a cab, when one turned to the other and asked, "What if you could just tap a button and a car appeared?"
Before it was a $100 billion giant, and before it was a verb in the Oxford Dictionary, it was a dangerous idea. An idea that would lead to street riots in France, undercover spy operations in the US, and a corporate war that cost more than some actual wars. To understand the machine, we have to understand the mechanics. Enter Travis Kalanick. In the tech world of the mid-2000s, Travis was already a legend, not for his successes, but for his scars. He was the ultimate red-blooded entrepreneur. His first company, Scour, was sued for $250 billion. His second, Red Swoosh, was a brutal struggle. Travis didn't just want to build a business, he wanted to win a fight.
Then there was Garrett Camp, the quiet visionary, the man who sold StumbleUpon for $75 million and was looking for the next big thing. When they stood on that curb in Paris, they hit a universal pain point. In 2008, the taxi industry was a protected monopoly. Drivers were rude, cars were dirty, and you had no idea when or if a cab would show up. Travis and Garrett weren't just thinking about a car. They were thinking about control. They wanted to turn the smartphone into a remote control for the physical world. 2009, San Francisco. The first line of code is written. At this stage, it wasn't called Uber. It was UberCab. The first version was incredibly simple. It only worked on iPhones, which were still new, and it only used black luxury cars. It was designed for the ballers, the tech elite of Silicon Valley. Here is the first major lesson for any entrepreneur watching. Niche down before you scale up. Uber didn't try to be the taxi for everyone on day one. They were the private driver for the rich. By doing this, they solved the supply problem first. They didn't need 10,000 cars. They only needed 10 black cars in a 5-mile radius to create a perfect user experience. But the cab in their name was a ticking time bomb. The regulators were watching. In San Francisco, the taxi lobby had more power than the mayor, and the war was about to begin. To understand why Uber's rise was so violent, you have to understand the medallion. In cities like New York, you couldn't just drive a taxi. You had to own a piece of tin called a medallion. In 2010, a single NYC medallion cost over $1 million. It was a rigged game. Rich investors owned thousands of them and leased them to poor drivers. Uber wasn't just an app. It was a wrecking ball hitting a multi-billion-dollar real estate bubble. When the authorities sent Travis Kalanick a legal notice to shut down, he did something unprecedented. He ignored it. Most startups hire lawyers to comply. Travis hired lawyers to fight. This is a key motivational takeaway. Disruption is uncomfortable. If you wait for the world to tell you it's okay to innovate, you will wait forever. Uber rebranded from UberCab to just Uber to argue they weren't a taxi company. They were a technology platform. It was a linguistic trick that changed history. Up until 2012, Uber was still luxury. But then a rival appeared, Lyft. They had pink mustaches on their cars and let regular people drive their own vehicles. Travis hated the idea, calling it low class. But he realized if he didn't adapt, he'd die. This led to UberX. Suddenly, anyone with a Toyota Camry could be a driver. This was the birth of the gig economy. How do you fight the laws of 100 different countries? With money. Millions of it. Billions of it. Uber began raising money from everyone. Google Ventures, Saudi Arabian wealth funds, even Jeff Bezos. They weren't just a company, they were a financial superpower. They used this money to subsidize rides. They would pay a driver $20, but only charge the passenger $10. They were literally buying the market.
Then came China, the biggest market on Earth. Travis Kalanick moved to China and spent $2 billion in a single year to beat a local rival called Didi Chuxing. It was a digital bloodbath. Didi hired spies to join Uber. Uber used secret software to hide from Chinese officials. In the end, Uber lost. They traded their Chinese operations for a stake in Didi. It was the first time the invincible Uber had to retreat. The tactics were getting darker. Uber developed a tool called Greyball. If a city official trying to catch illegal drivers opened the app, the software would identify them and show them ghost cars on the map that didn't exist. Uber was literally hacking the law in real time. They even went after rivals with a program called Hell. By creating fake rider accounts, Uber software could track every single Lyft driver in the city to poach them. Inside Uber's headquarters, the motto was always be hustlin'. Travis created 14 core values, including principled confrontation. In theory, it was about being honest. In reality, it turned the office into a battlefield. In February 2017, an engineer named Susan Fowler published a blog post describing a world of systemic harassment and a Game of Thrones-style management. This is a crucial lesson. Scale doesn't excuse cruelty. You can build a rocket ship, but if you build it with broken parts, it will eventually explode. Then came the worst month in Uber's history. A video surfaced of Travis Kalanick in the back of an Uber, getting into a heated argument with his own driver about falling prices. Travis shouted, "Some people don't like to take responsibility for their own shit." That video went viral. It showed the world that the captain of the ship had lost his empathy. The public perception shifted from cool innovator to corporate bully. Investors panicked. Benchmark Capital decided Travis had to go. What followed was a 24-hour drama in a hotel room in Chicago. After hours of screaming and negotiations, the man who built the empire was forced out of his own kingdom. Enter Dara Khosrowshahi. He was the adult in the room. His job was to apologize to the world. He pivoted Uber from growth at all costs to profitability. He pushed Uber Eats, realizing that moving food was just as profitable as moving people. In 2019, Uber finally went public. It wasn't the moonshot IPO people expected, but it was a survival story. So, what is the legacy of Uber? It is a story of unlimited ambition. It taught us that one idea can break a 100-year-old monopoly, and that the smartphone is the most powerful tool ever invented. But it also taught us that character matters. Travis Kalanick changed the world, but he lost his company because he forgot the people who built it, the drivers and the employees. Uber didn't wait for the world to change. They forced it to. They turned a freezing night in Paris into a global revolution because they dared to ask, why not? Now, look at your own life. Are you waiting for a sign? Are you waiting for permission? The world doesn't need more spectators. It needs builders, disruptors, and people who refuse to accept no for an answer. Every giant empire you see today started as a small, messy idea in someone's head. The only difference between them and you is that they actually started. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. It's never coming.
take that risk, start that project, and build your own blueprint.
If you found this deep dive valuable and you're ready to master the game of business, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. Join our community of future founders and empire builders. We don't just tell stories here, we give you the fuel to write your own. Turn on notifications so you never miss a blueprint. Comment below with the one business you want us to deconstruct next. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay hungry, stay relentless, and keep hustling.